Welcome, everybody, to the Conversation Starters. My name is Pume Dlamini, and I am your new host. I'm so excited to be doing this conversation today with Arne. And you would have seen a little snippet of us on social media. I hope you saw it, talking about the 3 things to consider when finally making the move to the cloud. And we're going to just expand on that today and talk a little bit more in detail around exactly what we were trying to say in that 1 minute or 2 minute video that we spoke about. Can you talk to me a little bit about your role at SAP?
Sure. I'm part of an organization called Custom Evolution, and the main objective of our organization is to help organizations to plan and execute the move from the old world, old ERP, old CRM, old BW, to the new latest generation cloud solutions. There are many things to be considered. Each customer has a somewhat different starting point, different requirements, and therefore we are doing our best to make that journey as seamless as possible for our organizations and our customers.
And you sit, Arne, in Germany, but I'm assuming you take care of customers around the world, or you just look at customers there around.
Actually, I am based in Germany, Waldorf, SAP's headquarters, and I virtually and also physically try to meet as many customers as possible because it's very important
Great.
to interact and really understand where customers are coming from so that we can best support them.
And how long have you been with SAP? 20 years.
31 years.
So, all right,
Quite a
I'm not
while.
going to tell you my age because you might be shocked. All right, so let's try and build on this conversation that we've already tried to land with some of our viewers. But perhaps before we even go into those 3 things we spoke about as what to consider when you're trying to move, I just want to talk a little bit about SAP and the vision they have for their own customers. So what is right now, as you guys are sitting and working on solutions and so forth, what are we trying to get our customers to? What is the vision? What are we hoping that our customers are able to achieve using SAP?
Yeah. So we see that the world is changing faster than ever before. And for this fast changing world, we strongly believe that we need new paradigms, new solutions, and that the cloud is exactly the vehicle that we need to use to support customers adopting quickly, being agile, becoming more agile, and being prepared for all the uncertainties that might face us in the coming year.
Yeah. I cannot. I mean, I can't say more to that. It is. We have to learn how to do things quickly and fast. And with the world becoming more and more integrated, it's just even more important that we're able to have the information we need at the right time, to the right level, even. And I don't see how you can do that in any other way besides cloud solutions. So we started speaking about this big move, and I think what is a topical thing at the moment with SAP is talking about the support plans, talking about maintenance, talking about when to move, how are we going to do this, the cost of it, and so forth. But perhaps let's not try and answer all the questions. Let's try and answer just some with this conversation, and start first with what you actually alluded to when I asked you the question in our snippet. You said when thinking about moving, you need to consider where you are today. And that actually is going to help you decide where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Can you expand a little bit on that, on what are you thinking about when you're thinking about where you are today? What are the things to consider?
Absolutely. Happy to do so. Of course, there are many considerations for organizations to plan the move, the timing, and everything. But one thing that becomes increasingly important are the maintenance timelines. For those of you that are not aware, SAP has 3 general maintenance phases. There's the mainstream maintenance, which is the standard maintenance phase where we deliver support packages, legal changes, HR changes, security patches. So everything that you would expect from regular maintenance, again, called mainstream maintenance. Then there is a phase that we have for some versions only called extended maintenance, which allows customers to individually prolongate the maintenance timelines. And after these 2 phases, mainstream maintenance and extended maintenance, a version will automatically fall into customer-specific maintenance. That is the phase where customers still have full access to the entire support infrastructure, can download nodes, can upgrade to later releases. However, for customer-specific maintenance versions, we no longer have new support packages. We don't ship any legal changes, HR changes, or things that are typically very relevant and also critical for customers. So therefore, specific maintenance is something that organizations in general want to avoid and need to avoid. So therefore, it's important to understand these timelines because that might drive the urgency to move to either later
Yeah.
release
Okay.
or over to the cloud to get rid of that situation.
Yeah. And perhaps let's build on that a little bit because we do have some that are now going to fall into this customer specific. We do have some versions of SAP that are going to fall into that. And can we just like highlight what those are? What versions of the solution are at risk now of falling into that phase that you talk about, that customer specific one, because we obviously know that is far more costly for the customer to be in.
So for the main product for SAP ERP6, there the maintenance timelines depend on the enhancement package level that you're using. If you're running on one of the lower enhancement packages up to version 5, the mainstream maintenance will end of this year. So that's coming up fairly soon, another 9 months to go. For the versions 6, 7, and 8, enhancement packages 6, 7, and 8, customers will have 2 more years and mainstream maintenance will end after 27. And only for the last 3 versions, 6, 7, and 8, there's also the option for extended maintenance, which then allows customers to continue until 2030.
Yeah, with you. All right, and back to this conversation, obviously maintenance being the biggest part of it, of where you are today. But what else about where you are today would help you decide where you are wanting to go outside of just this maintenance component?
I mean, it's of course also important to see what are the business priorities. That might drive like the sequence because it's not just the ERP system that's typically in place. There are other systems. It could be a supply chain management system, a warehouse management system, a payroll system. And depending on the business needs, there might be a reason to do the one thing before the other and maybe change the sequence depending on those kind of priorities.
Yeah, got you. So let's build on the destination then. Let's talk about what's available. What can our customers look forward to? Where are we going? Again, cloud, we keep hearing, but what are the different options? And perhaps after that, we can talk about how do you decide which one is best suited for you as a business?
So talking about ERP, the destination is cloud ERP, and cloud ERP comes in 2 flavors. There's the private cloud flavor and the public cloud flavor. Both options are perfectly valid options, but it depends on the specific requirements of the organization, which one is the better fit. Public cloud is the true SaaS offering, allowing customers to benefit from frequent cloud innovations, from always being on the latest and greatest version, and being able to benefit from everything that's coming out of the development organization in a very fast way, like AI innovations. The downside or the consequence of this SaaS solution is that it is a very standardized offering, meaning that customers need to likely adjust their business processes. So the flexibility they used to have or currently have with the ERP system might no longer be available to the same extent with public cloud. So it requires really some kind of business re-engineering, and technically a public cloud implementation is always a new installation, meaning customers need to start from scratch, modeling their old processes and business requirements into the functionality that is available with the public cloud solution.
And perhaps fighting with a little bit of your staff to get rid of some processes. That sounds hectic. And I just want to pause there. Have we seen those instances where people have decided to use it and it either has worked, and what
Yeah,
example would we bring there, or it hasn't worked at all because of just how much customization was already in the business and it didn't quite
yeah.
fit?
It has worked, but it requires that the business and the management is really supporting, endorsing, or even enforcing
Hmm.
that strategy. It will not be
Yeah,
successful if it
yeah,
is just an IT-driven activity, because then you will always have business coming up with urgent and critical requirements, and then it is a difficult situation for IT. We can no longer do that. But as long as the
yeah,
business
yeah.
is really behind that and says, we want to standardize, we want to be agile, we want to be on the latest and greatest version, then public cloud is certainly a success model for those kind of environments.
Yeah, got you. And you spoke about it being a great fit for new
Yeah.
implementations, rather than people who are coming in from the old ERP into this. And I guess it's speaking to that again, is that they're not used to the customization, then we can just start the business properly using this best practice
Yeah,
model.
exactly. Yeah. So that's public cloud.
Okay.
And then the other option, which is probably the predominant option for existing
Mm-hmm.
ERP users, is the private cloud model. Private cloud offering the
Mm-hmm.
full breadth and depth of the ERP solution, allowing customers to either start from scratch, so similar to what is possible with public cloud for customers that really want to start again with best practices, with new models, with maybe also new org structures, new master data structures. That is
Yeah, yeah.
possible with private cloud, and something that is only possible with private cloud and not public cloud is the so-called system conversion, allowing an entire system, the entire ERP system, to be technically transitioned over to S/4HANA private cloud. So that means customers that do
Mm.
not want to re-engineer their processes and potentially want to do that at a later point in time, if at all needed, they can technically shift over to S/4HANA private cloud, and with that have a relatively seamless and easy move over to the new world.
And that's interesting. And is there a cap on that? Because I'm thinking I could just say 50% new and then 50% just lift and shift over into my new into the new ERP, into the new cloud. I mean, so how do you guys handle that? Because I'm not. I just want to make sure we understand it correctly for the
Yeah,
customer.
both options are valid, and we even see a 50-50 distribution between these two models. So there are good reasons for customers to do the new
Hmm.
implementations. There are also good reasons to do the system conversion. Um, it really
Hmm.
depends how much the customer wants to keep the existing processes, functionality, and or if they want to take the opportunity to start from scratch and using the latest and greatest functionalities and processes that are coming with the software.
And would with the parts that we don't necessarily re-engineer, then that still falls into the maintenance plans as we've described them, or is it now sitting with the new program? I just want to understand
Yeah,
that part.
if you do a system conversion from ERP over to S/4HANA, then the ERP maintenance
Hmm.
timelines no longer
The
apply,
whole thing.
because you're running then
Okay.
S/4HANA. And then, of
Okay.
course, also S/4HANA has several versions, uh, and each of the version has a certain maintenance window. But that is then a different situation, because for S/4HANA, there are new versions coming up, whereas on the ERP side,
Exactly.
there is no new version coming up. EHP 8, the Enhancement Package 8 we talked about, is the last version available for ERP 6.
Got you. All right, Arne. I want to talk about a little bit of because everyone always talks about SAP projects and how lengthy and how difficult they can be. And while we're talking about the destination, perhaps we could spend a little bit of time talking about what does it look like in the real world with customers who are going live with public cloud, and what does it look like for private
Mhm.
cloud. My assumption would be, as a listener, is that perhaps public cloud is a lot quicker and it might be smoother outside of the interaction you have to do with the business itself to get them used to having to drop some of the old ways of doing things and adopting best practice. And then private cloud might be a bit more difficult. Can you give me practical examples of those two things and just the timelines that are
Yeah,
involved there?
you're absolutely right. Public cloud projects are typically a little faster than private cloud projects because,
Mm-hmm.
again, the mindset is customers follow this best practice approach, and therefore it is, at least from a system perspective, easier to implement because there are not so many variations available. For private cloud,
Yeah,
we see that system conversion projects are typically faster than new implementation projects simply because for system conversion, certain discussions are not needed or are not even possible because certain things are simply already decided on the ERP side and are carried forward to S4HANA. The average project duration for a system conversion is typically 9 to 12 months. I mean, there are all kind of variations, right? There are very fast customers doing this in 6 weeks. We also see projects running for 3 years, but 9 to 12 months is a good average for system conversions. And for new implementations, in particular new implementations with existing customers, the average is around 12 to 15 months. So it is longer simply because customers obviously take the opportunity to make sure they design the new system in the right way. So they look
yeah,
at their organizational structures, at their controlling areas, at their business processes, and see that they find the best fit because starting from scratch is a unique opportunity to rethink
yeah, exactly.
processes. Therefore, very naturally, these projects will take some more time.
Yeah, it's interesting for me being in the change management and training side of business because oftentimes I'm like, this has got nothing to do with the system. We are now just taking the opportunity because it's a unique opportunity, as you say, to really think about how the business works and are certain things necessary? Can we do things better? So it does offer
Yeah.
that. But it also then means there's a lot of a dependence on sometimes even your best staff members because it needs a lot of contribution from business. And I know that there's a lot of times where that is not handled well. The design of it is not handled well. We're not including the right people in those conversations, and therefore it goes a bit wonky. I don't know what you can say to that from an implementation point of view, just how to handle it around who is involved in this that makes it a good transition going
Yeah,
forward.
you're absolutely right. Ultimately, the project success and also the project duration will depend on the people you put on the project.
Yeah.
So when I started at SAP as a consultant, I learned that successful projects are really the projects where the customer puts the best people on the project. People that, on one
Mm-hmm.
hand, know the operations, know the business, but at the same time are able
Mm-hmm.
to think out of the box, think visionary, and are
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of develop the requirements further and find the best possible solution with the software. So that is a very,
Yeah.
very ambitious and intellectually demanding activity. So better the people are, the better your future solution will be, and the more the organization will benefit from the capabilities of the system.
100%. 100%. All right. I think we've covered enough, but I always want to take the opportunity to say we are called conversation starters because we actually are trying to start a conversation and consult with you and chat about what is your scenario. I think that's one thing, Arne, that I hear across everybody at SAP. It's almost always business specific. It's about what's the best thing for you. How does it fit for you? How can we make it work in your case? And I know the solutions are there, but it's not a one size fit all. So I just want to take the chance to say that as we're having this conversation, understand that it's a consulting thing. We have to actually speak about it specific to your business. And I think that's why your division exists, Arne. And, we do the consulting work right up front. So again, if there are any comments, any questions, just share them on our platforms and we can see how we can address those at a later stage. So maybe just then going back to the third thing that you mentioned in our talk was the transition over. All right. So there we start speaking about the terms, the consulting terms, your green fields and your brown fields and so forth. So can you break down for me what exactly those are? Because sometimes it does sound like just a whole lot of words that sound great, but people actually don't understand what they mean.
Yeah. So we already talked about that a little bit. So we have two main options. It's the new implementation and the system conversion. New implementation is
Mm-hmm.
often referred to as a greenfield project, which, yeah, as the
Mm-hmm.
name suggests, you start with an empty system. Well, a system without data, at least. You might start with some kind of best practices, a model company template solution to accelerate your project. But ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
you will need to bring in some data via the migration tools to start your productive business. So that is the
Yeah.
one approach. And the other approach, system conversion, also referred to as brownfield. Yeah, think of it like a mega upgrade, right? You take your entire system, your entire ERP system, and move that over to S/4HANA, like you would upgrade
Got
your
you.
iPhone to a later iOS
I feel,
version.
yes.
And the one thing to understand is a system conversion is always a big bang project. I sometimes get the question, is it possible to do this company code by company code or do this finance first, logistics later? And the answer is no, right? It's a big bang, always the entire
Mm-hmm.
system, everything, including all historical data in your ERP system, is at one point in time moved over to S/4HANA,
Yeah.
and then customers and the end users continue to operate in the S/4HANA environment.
Got you. I think we have covered very much everything that we spoke about in our little snippet and what we wanted our viewers to take away, thinking about moving and thinking about how to get there, what to do, what are the options that are available. And before we do that, I just want to dispel a little bit of some myths because we do have a lot of myths in the industry. People think that, if you're going to do this, it's going to cost you a lot of money and all of these things. So you would have been working for 31 years here. What are the things that you hear that are absolutely not true and actually do not ever work out that way? Is there anything that comes to mind when people start thinking about doing SAP projects that just need to be dispelled right at the beginning?
Yeah, often when things are not working in the right way, people blame it on the
Yeah.
software. And I don't want to suggest it's never the software's fault, but in many, many cases, it's the way how it is implemented. We talked about the importance of having the right people on the project team.
Yeah.
If you have people that are not able to think through the processes in the right way, then it shouldn't be a surprise that later on in the
Yeah.
daily
Yeah.
life, things are not working as they should be. So therefore,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a software, no question about that, but in many cases, it's not the software, but the way how it was implemented.
So, would your best advice be after years of doing this is get your team right first? Do the work internally, understanding who those people are, test their knowledge and their understanding of the business, of how the systems that are existing already in the business support the business, and therefore start doing the dreaming before we even get to the side of the system. Because it's sounding to me like you're saying if that's not existing, then the power of SAP doesn't is not really going to show up as well as people are expecting it
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. So that's the one thing. The other thing is just get started, right? There are projects that have blueprint phases that take forever. And then after a year or
Mm.
so, you first look at the system and you realize that, surprise, surprise, the system is offering something different from what you designed.
Yeah, of
So
course.
therefore,
Yeah, yeah,
look at the system, look at the best practice processes, look at what is available, and take this as the foundation for the discussions instead of the traditional way, starting with a blank piece of paper and then writing down all your requirements and then hoping that you find a solution in the
yeah,
system. So that is a very
yeah.
lengthy, very costly, and in many cases also a not overly successful approach.
Yeah, I'm with you. Arne, thank you so, so, so much. And I hope that this conversation has been insightful for people. I know that there's been a lot of conversation around the support and the maintenance, and I hope this clears that out. And the conversation again about how do I decide what is best for me for the business? Should we go public cloud, private cloud? what exactly, and how do we get about how do we go about doing that? So I hope this conversation has answered some of that, or maybe has started some conversations. Let's put it that way, aligned to what we are trying to achieve, has started the conversation around deciding about what to do. But ultimately, I think the message is this: the move is imminent. We all have to do it, because there is no other way to be supported really in this real world that we are in without being on the cloud. And I think that's what you were trying to land at the beginning.
Absolutely. Very well summarized.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Arne. And yeah, thanks everybody for listening to this. I hope this conversation has been insightful, and I hope it starts some conversations in your business. So do share those with us, and please communicate, talk, consult. I think that's how you do this, and that's how you do this successfully. A lot of people have a lot of knowledge to share around how they have gone about doing it in their businesses, and I think the more you talk about it, the more you consult, the better ideas you have about how to go about doing your own transition in your own business. Thank you for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you.